Hello, future anesthesiologists. And today we're going to be talking about different types of numbers. It may seem very boring, but I assure you this is super important. So, there are two main data types for numbers inside of Python, and those are right here. We've got float, meaning that the number contains decimals, and integer, meaning that it is a whole number. You should have heard integer before in a math class. It's a whole number. There are no decimal points. It can be negative or positive. That's a whole number. Now, floats, that's just a fancy word for something that has a decimal to it. So we have got a bit of a program right here where we ask for an input of number 1 and number 2, and we add them together. Now I'm going to show you why it's important to use integers and floats. So right now, if I run this program, and I just started running it, if I enter in a number, and let's say 5, now when I enter in my second number, let's say 1, we should get 6, right? It is 5 plus 6, or 5 plus 1 equals 6. So when I hit enter, I get 51. Not ideal. That's not exactly what we want. When you use an input, it defaults our data type to a string. So it's processing our 5 and our 1 as just text-based numbers, and we don't want that. We want to have integers or floats. So what we can do is we want to specify the data types of these variables. If I want to make number 1 an integer, I'm going to type int and then put parentheses around number 1, declaring that an integer. Now number 2, if I want that to be a float, I can say float. Now there's not like a fancy shortened version of it, so you got to type out the whole thing. I know, super bummer. But now we've got our first one is an integer, our second one is a float, and now we can have those add up together. So now when I run the program, and I run the module, I will enter in a number. Let's do 5, and let's do 1.1, enter, and we get 6.1. Perfect. That's how it's supposed to work. Now, whenever you have float, even if we go and we run this file again, and we choose two whole numbers, 5 and 1, we'll get 6.0. So you see, even when we use something that is a float and we have just whole numbers, we still get that 0.0, which sometimes is important, sometimes it's not. If we wanted to have that 0.0, that might be an indication that we have ill-formatted groups, or that some of our data isn't coming back as precise as we'd like to, because a lot of computers work with just zeros and ones. But if you get that 0.0, we might be off in some way. So that's why we use integers and floats to either filter out or add in those decimals. So that's it. You got a couple practice problems using both integers and floats. Try those out. Make sure that you are specifying each one, whether or not it is an integer or a float, or you're just going to print a bunch of strings. All right. Thank you for watching. I'll talk to you later.